The medical hub floated in deep space like a shining jewel. It belonged to the Great Alien Coalition, a union of many species that had built the station as a place of healing and study. It was rare for outsiders to be allowed inside, but this day was different. A ship carried a wounded man, a human soldier, and his arrival would change everything. Commander Rin Hale lay on a stretcher as the doors opened. His body was scarred in ways the alien doctors had never seen. His skin carried burns, cuts, and strange glowing marks that no weapon they knew could have caused. His eyes were open but tired, and yet his face showed no fear. He had survived something far greater than ordinary battle. The alien doctors hurried forward. They were from different races with strange forms, but all shared the same worry. The leader among them, a tall being with silver skin named Valen, activated the scanning device. It was a machine that could read every part of a body, from blood to memory patterns. No patient had ever confused it before. When the scanner touched Rin's chest, the machine sparked. The light flickered and alarms rang across the chamber. The display filled with unreadable symbols. The machine tried again, but each attempt ended in failure. Valen frowned and reset the system. Still, the same result came. The scanner whispered a strange phrase in its mechanical voice. It said the scars were too deep, too old, too unusual. It gave a final warning that chilled the room. It whispered, "Subject has encountered an entity beyond catalog. Probability, divine class." The doctors froze. Aliens were not supposed to believe in gods. To them, gods were myths from primitive times. Yet the machine had spoken the word clearly. The youngest doctor whispered softly, "Did he fight a god?" The question spread quickly among the staff. None dared to answer. Rin noticed the fear in their eyes. He sat up slowly, though his body should not have had the strength. His voice was calm but heavy with memory. "I fought something," he said. "I don't know what name you would give it. All I know is that it was more than any army or machine." The alien stepped back, unsure whether to treat him as a patient or a danger. Valen finally ordered the guards to stand ready, though their weapons stayed lowered. The coalition did not want harm, but they also did not want risk. Rin was too strange to be left unguarded. As they guided him to an observation room, more whispers began in the halls. Some believed he was cursed. Others thought he carried power inside his scars. The strange glow on his arm seemed to shift when lights touched it, almost alive. No one wanted to admit fear, but everyone felt it. In the council chamber above the medical wing, alien leaders watched the recordings. They saw the scanner fail. They heard the word divine. The council argued fiercely. Some said the human must be locked away. Others said he must be studied as a rare chance to learn the truth about higher beings. A few even believed he could be a key to defending the galaxy. Meanwhile, Rin sat in silence in his new room. His memories came back in pieces. He remembered his ship breaking apart. He remembered his crew screaming. He remembered standing before a great light, so bright that his eyes burned. He remembered a voice that asked him a question no weapon could answer. He had survived, but he did not know why. The aliens returned later, carrying food and water. The young doctor who had first spoken dared to ask again. "What did you face out there? Was it a god?" Rin looked at his hands, the scars that refused to heal. His answer was quiet but strong. "If it was a god, then gods can bleed. And if they can bleed, then they can be faced." The doctor shivered at his words. Outside the room, the guards exchanged uneasy glances. The coalition had never feared one man before, yet this human carried a mystery greater than any weapon. His scars told a story no one understood. And deep in the shadows of space, rumors already began to move. A soldier with marks that confused machines, a man who might have fought a god, had entered their world. The medical hub, once a place of calm, was now filled with questions. None of the aliens knew the answers. Only Commander Rin Hale carried the truth, hidden in his scars and his broken memories. And though he tried to rest, he knew one thing clearly. His battle was not over. The medical hub grew restless after the humans' arrival. Commander Rin Hale's presence was like a storm that unsettled the quiet order of the station. Aliens who had never spoken of gods now whispered in their private halls. The scanner's broken voice still echoed in their minds. It had said the human bore the scars of something divine. None could ignore such a claim. Inside the observation chamber, Rin sat on a plain bench. His body was tired, yet his posture remained firm. He had the look of someone who had seen too much but would never admit defeat. The young alien scientist, Kale, entered carrying a data tablet. Kale's species had delicate limbs and glowing eyes, a people known for curiosity rather than war. He had been chosen to question Rin, though many others wanted the task. Kale had not protested, but fear sat quietly in his chest. He began carefully. "Commander Hale, the scans of your body are unlike anything we have seen. Your scars hold energy that does not belong to human biology. Do you know what caused them?" Rin looked at the alien for a long moment before answering. His voice was steady, but his eyes seemed to look beyond the room. "I remember fire, light, and a shape too vast to measure. Our weapons struck, but it did not fall." Its voice carried through space as if the stars themselves spoke. "My scars are what remain of that meeting." Kale tapped the tablet nervously. "You claim it spoke to you. Do you recall its words?" Rin closed his eyes. Flashes of memory returned. He saw his crew falling one by one. He saw his own body thrown against metal walls as light carved across his skin. And then he heard it again, that voice like thunder inside his head. He opened his eyes slowly. It asked me why humans endure when stronger races bow. It wanted to know why we fight even when hope is gone. Kale's breath caught. The answer was strange, yet it carried weight. He recorded every word carefully. Other scientists would demand the details, but he already felt the truth in the human's tone. Outside the chamber, the alien council debated fiercely. Some leaders argued that the humans' memories were nothing but confusion born from trauma. They said no being could be divine, no voice could shake a fleet. Others warned that dismissing the human would be dangerous. If such an entity existed, then the coalition was unprepared. The elder counselor, Vara, spoke with authority. "This human has survived what none of us have faced. His scars resist our machines. We must treat his words with care. If he speaks truth, then our worlds are in danger. If he lies, then his kind may hold secrets we cannot ignore." The council agreed to continue studying Rin. Yet unease spread across the station. Soldiers who guarded his room whispered among themselves. Pilots who passed through the medical hub spoke of the human warrior with marks that confused machines. Some began to call him the Scarred One, others named him the God Fighter. Back in his chamber, Kale continued his questions. "Did your fleet survive the encounter?" Rin's jaw tightened. Pain flickered in his expression, though he kept his voice controlled. "No. My crew gave everything. I alone remained when the light faded. I do not know why I was spared. Perhaps the thing wanted me to live. Perhaps it wanted to send a message. Kale felt a chill run through him. He studied the glowing marks on Rin's arms again. They pulsed faintly, as if reacting to memory. He wondered if the scars held more than pain. Could they be signs, codes, or even messages from the entity itself? The thought unsettled him, but also filled him with determination. He decided that he would be the one to uncover their meaning. As Kale left the chamber, Rin remained seated, staring at his hands. He remembered the entity's presence, vast and unshakable, yet not entirely beyond reach. For a brief moment in battle, he had seen it hesitate. That hesitation haunted him more than the pain of his wounds. The aliens outside thought of him as either a danger or a miracle. To Rin, he was only a soldier who had lived while others had not. His scars were questions written on his flesh, and no machine could answer them. Night settled across the station. Lights dimmed, but whispers did not fade. Across the medical hub, aliens spoke of the human who might have faced a god. Some feared him. Some admired him. A few hoped he would be their shield if such an enemy returned. And deep inside, Rin wondered if the battle was truly over. The scars on his body pulsed like embers that refused to die. Somewhere beyond the stars, he felt the presence watching. It was waiting, patient and silent. He could not prove it, but his heart told him the truth. The war had only begun. The station's wide halls carried unease like a hidden current. Ever since Commander Rin Hale arrived, the balance of the medical hub had shifted. The aliens could not ignore the scars that glowed on his body or the words whispered by the broken scanner. Rumors spread faster than truth, and fear grew with every passing hour. In the central chamber of the hub, the alien council gathered again. Their voices echoed across the high walls. Some leaders insisted that the human was dangerous and should be removed at once. Others argued that to banish him would be foolish, for his survival carried knowledge no one else possessed. A few even feared that harming him might anger the very being he had faced. The debate turned bitter, but no final decision came. Meanwhile, Rin sat quietly in his chamber. The guards at his door never relaxed, though he showed no sign of hostility. He often kept his eyes closed, as if listening to something far away. When asked what he thought about the council's fear, he only said, "They are right to be cautious. Fear is what keeps us alive." Kale, the young scientist, continued to study the strange marks on Rin's skin. The glow shifted when light touched it, sometimes forming shapes that seemed too perfect to be random. Kale wondered if the scars were more than wounds. He recorded every movement and searched for patterns, though answers always slipped from his reach. At night, Rin's dreams returned with force. He saw again the burning light that had swallowed his ship. He saw the faces of his crew fading into silence. Most of all, he heard the voice. It did not speak in words he understood, yet the meaning was clear. It had asked why humans endured when others surrendered. In the dream, he tried to answer, but the voice never allowed him to finish. He woke each time with sweat on his face and fire on his skin. Across the hub, the soldiers who guarded him shared their own fears. One said the human scars looked like ancient runes from his homeworld's myths. Another claimed to hear a faint hum when standing too close to the chamber. No evidence supported these claims, but the whispers grew until even the bravest guards began to avoid eye contact with Rin. In the training halls of the station, the council ordered a test. They wished to see if the human's body carried hidden strength. Rin was placed in a simulated environment where gravity shifted and pressure grew heavy. The alien machines were built to measure limits of endurance. Yet Rin exceeded them with quiet determination. He did not collapse when others would have fallen. He did not beg for release when the air grew thin. Instead, he stood, scarred body trembling but unbroken, until the system reached its highest record. The council watched from above. Some were impressed, others alarmed. Vara, the elder counselor, spoke softly, "He carries will beyond measure. But is it his own, or is it a gift from the being he faced?" No one could answer. Rin left the chamber without pride. He only asked for water and silence. To him, the test was nothing compared to what he had already endured. He thought of his crew again, and the memory of their sacrifice pressed heavier on him than any machine. Later, Kale approached with another question. "When you faced the being, did it show weakness?" Rin hesitated. His voice dropped lower as he recalled the moment. "Yes." For one heartbeat, it paused. "It looked at us not as insects, but as equals. That was when we struck hardest. That was when it bled light." Kale's eyes widened. A being that could bleed was not untouchable. It was powerful, yes, but not beyond reach. He recorded the words quickly, knowing they would cause debate across the coalition. As the day ended, the hub grew darker with fear. Leaders wondered if the human's survival was a warning. Some whispered that the entity might return. Others feared Rin himself more than the enemy he described. Yet in his chamber, the scarred soldier remained calm. His body carried pain, but his spirit held steady. He knew fear well, but he did not bow to it. If the being returned, he would stand again. And whether the aliens believed him or not, he understood the truth. The scars were not only wounds. They were proof that gods could tremble. The medical hub's halls grew quieter each day, but the silence was not peace. It was tension, stretched thin across the station. The alien coalition had seen the human's endurance in the tests, and whispers of his scars filled every corner. Some said his marks were curses, others claimed they were keys to a secret greater than any fleet. None could look at Commander Rin Hale without feeling the weight of something larger than themselves. Kale, the young scientist, was the one who spent most time with him. Each day he studied the scars, and each day they revealed something new. What had once looked like random burns now showed order. Under certain lights, the glowing patterns aligned into shapes, almost like written symbols. Kale compared them to thousands of languages stored in the coalition's archives, but none matched. The marks were unique. One evening, Kale dared to tell Rin his theory. "These are not only wounds. They are more. They may be messages." Rin lifted his arm, staring at the faint glow across his skin. The idea unsettled him. "Messages from what?" he asked. Kale hesitated. "Perhaps from the being itself. Perhaps from the battle. Something left its mark on you, Commander, not only in body but in meaning." Rin said nothing for a long time. His thoughts returned to that moment of blinding light, when the entity had asked its question. If these scars were words, then maybe they were its answer. The news reached the council soon after. The chamber filled with heated voices once again. Some leaders believed the human's body carried dangerous signals that could corrupt their systems. Others believed the marks were a gift, knowledge left behind for survival. The elder counselor Vara warned that both could be true. Knowledge is power, and power always carries risk. Despite the debate, the council allowed Kale to continue his study. He built new scanners to map the scars in detail. To his shock, the marks reacted to the machines. Instead of breaking them, as before, the scars reshaped the data into images of stars and shifting paths. It was like a map, hidden in the human's flesh. When Kale showed Rin the results, the soldier's heart grew heavy. The images looked familiar, though he could not place them. Perhaps they were star systems near the site of the battle. Perhaps they were somewhere else entirely. The thought that his body carried a path unsettled him more than any wound. Meanwhile, the station itself grew restless. Rumors spread that the human scars could control machines. Some aliens claimed he was chosen by the divine being. Others warned he might be a weapon sent to weaken them from within. The guards outside his chamber grew uneasy, often refusing to meet his eyes. In private, Kale admitted his fears. The coalition is dividing. Some want you treated as a hero. Some want you locked away. I do not know how long the council can hold balance. Rin gave a quiet answer. I am no hero. I am a soldier who survived when others did not. But if these marks carry meaning, then I must know it. For if the being returns, we cannot meet it blind. That night, Rin dreamed again. He saw the vast light stretch across the stars. He heard the voice repeating its question. But this time, the marks on his skin glowed brighter in the dream, as if answering in silence. He awoke with his body trembling, the scars burning faintly with heat. Kale rushed in at once, scanners ready. The machines captured another shift in the marks. The shapes no longer looked like random stars but now resembled a single system, far beyond coalition maps. Kale's eyes widened. It is not just a message. It is a destination. The words spread quickly. The council was thrown into chaos once more. If the scars were a map, then it meant the being had left a trail. Some saw hope of finding answers. Others saw a trap. And while they argued, the scarred soldier sat in silence, staring at his arms. He did not know if the marks were gift or curse, but he knew one thing with certainty. Whatever message had been carved into his body, it was meant to be followed. The map hidden in Rin's scars changed everything. Once the marks were seen as strange wounds, but now they carried a path. Kale worked tirelessly, comparing the star shapes with coalition charts. His studies showed that the destination was far beyond mapped space, on the edge where exploration had always failed. It was a place known only in stories, where fleets vanished without a trace. When the council received Kale's report, the chamber erupted in noise. Some leaders wanted to follow the path at once, hoping it would lead to answers about the entity. Others demanded the human be restrained, for they feared his body was guiding them into a trap. Elder Varro listened to both sides before giving her words. Whether gift or danger, the map is real. We must decide if we will face what lies at its end or hide in fear. Rin was summoned to the chamber. The tall walls and bright lights made the meeting feel more like judgment than counsel. He stood straight, his scars glowing faintly under the lights. A leader asked him, "Did you know this path was in your body?" Rin answered firmly, "No. But I believe it is connected to the being I faced. If it is returning, then this path may be the only warning we have." The council fell into silence. His words held weight, though many still doubted him. After long debate, they agreed to send probes toward the mark system. Until results came, Rin would remain under watch. As the days passed, the station grew heavier with rumors. Soldiers whispered that the human carried not a map but a curse. Civilians feared the coalition was angering something greater than them all. Yet in the laboratories, Kale continued to study the marks with quiet focus. He noticed that whenever Rin spoke of the battle, the glow of the scars shifted, as if reacting to his memories. Kale believed the marks were alive in some way, shaped by thought as much as by flesh. One evening, Kale shared his thoughts with Rin. Your scars may not just be a map. They may be a warning. Perhaps the being wanted you to carry this so others would see and fear. Rin looked down at his arms, the patterns faint under the soft light. If it wanted me to spread fear, then it misjudged. Fear does not stop me. It never has. Kale nodded, though he knew the coalition did not share that strength. Fear was growing each day. Soon the probes returned with data. Their recordings shook the council to its core. The mark system was not empty. Signs of destruction floated across its space. Whole worlds were broken, their remains scattered like dust. No living fleets guarded the system, only silence and ruin. Yet at the heart of it, sensors caught traces of strange energy, the same type that burned within Rin's scars. The council sat in shock as the images played. One leader whispered, "If this is where the map leads, then the being has already struck again." Another spoke louder, "We cannot follow. To face such a power is madness." But Rin's voice cut through the chamber. "Madness is to wait until it finds you. My people faced it first, and we paid in blood. If you turn away, it will come again, and none of you will be ready." His words carried the weight of truth. Some counselors turned pale, others avoided his eyes. Yet a few nodded slowly, seeing the sense in his warning. After the meeting, Kale found Rin in his chamber. "They are afraid," Kale said softly. "They should be," Rin replied. "But fear cannot be the end. Fear must lead to action." Kale studied the human, scarred yet steady. In him he saw both danger and hope. He began to believe that perhaps the marks were not only a curse or warning. Perhaps they were a challenge, left by the being itself, daring others to rise against it. That night, as the station dimmed to quiet shadow, Rin sat alone. He touched the glowing lines on his arm and remembered the moment when the entity had paused. For all its power, it had hesitated before human will. That memory gave him strength. If the being could bleed, then it could be faced again. Far beyond the station, in the dark of space, the ruins of the mark system drifted in silence. Yet hidden in that silence was movement, faint and steady. Something vast stirred among the broken worlds, waiting. The discovery of the ruined system struck the coalition with dread. For many, it was proof that the being Rin had faced was not myth. Whole planets had fallen, and nothing could explain such destruction except a power beyond fleets and weapons. Fear spread through the station like fire. Soldiers sharpened their blades and checked their armor, yet few believed they could stand against what had ended worlds. The council met again in their tall chamber. Voices clashed like storm winds. Some demanded retreat, insisting the coalition must hide and fortify their home systems. Others argued they could not ignore the threat, for no walls were strong enough to hold back a storm that crossed the stars. Elder Varro listened in silence before turning her eyes to the scarred soldier. "Human," she said, "you faced this being once. Do you believe it can be fought?" Rin's answer came without hesitation. "Yes. It is vast, but not untouchable. My scars are proof. It can be hurt, and if it can be hurt, it can be stopped." The words did not erase the council's fear, but they planted a seed of resolve. At last, they voted to send a strike force, though many called it a hopeless mission. The fleet would be small, guided by the path in Rin's scars. If nothing else, they would learn the truth. Rin stood at the head of the chosen group. Alien soldiers of many species gathered beside him, their armor shining under the hangar lights. Some looked at him with suspicion, others with respect, but all carried the same fear in their hearts. Kale joined as well, not as a soldier but as a scientist, determined to unlock the final secrets of the marks. The fleet departed in silence. Stars stretched into lines as the ships leapt through faster than light travel. Days passed in tense calm until at last the scarred map guided them to the broken system. The view silenced even the most hardened soldiers. Dead worlds floated in fragments. Ash clouds drifted across space like ghosts. At the heart of it all was the presence. It was not a simple shape but a storm of light and shadow, too large for the mind to measure. Energy waves pulsed from it, bending sensors and shaking even the strongest hulls. Some soldiers froze in terror, unable to breathe. The being did not strike them yet, but its presence alone felt like weight pressing against every heart. It was more than sight. It was felt in bone and blood, a reminder of how small they were. Ren stepped forward in the command deck. His voice cut through the fear. "Look at it, but do not bow. It wants you to kneel. It feeds on your weakness. Stand firm. Remember, it hesitated before us once." His words steadied the crew. Weapons charged, shields rose, and the fleet prepared for battle. The being turned its vast attention toward them. Light flared like fire, striking against shields with force enough to shatter mountains. Ships trembled but held. Ren's scars began to glow brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the storm outside. Kale watched in awe as the marks spread signals across the command systems, guiding the fleet into maneuvers no machine had predicted. "It is showing us how to fight," Kale whispered. For the first time, the coalition fleet struck back with unity. Their beams of light cut through the storm. The being recoiled, its form shifting as if in pain. It was not destroyed, but it had felt the strike. For one moment, the vast presence trembled. The soldiers cheered, hope flooding their hearts. If such a godlike power could feel pain, then victory was no longer a dream. Yet the storm answered with fury. Waves of energy tore across space, breaking smaller ships into fragments. Still, the survivors held their ground, pressing forward with the strength of those who refused to kneel. Through it all, Ren stood firm, his body burning with light from the scars. He remembered the voice asking why humans endured. His answer was clear now. "Because we must," he whispered, though the sound was lost in the roar of battle. The being shifted again, its vast form dimming slightly. For the second time, it hesitated before mortal defiance. The fleet, though battered, did not fall. The fight was not won, but the truth was clear. Gods could tremble. The battle raged across the ruined system. Light clashed with shadow as the coalition fleet stood against the vast being. Many ships had already fallen, their wreckage drifting among the broken planets, yet the survivors pressed forward with stubborn resolve. Each strike from the entity shook their ships, but each counter-strike from the fleet proved that they would not bend. In the command deck, Ren Hale stood steady. His scars burned with brighter fire than ever before, guiding his movements and feeding the fleet with signals no machine could invent. Kale watched in awe, recording every pulse of energy, every rhythm of the glowing marks. To him it was clear. The scars were not only wounds, they were a language of resistance. The being unleashed another storm of energy. Shields shattered, alarms rang, but the fleet endured. Ren lifted his head, eyes locked on the vast shape beyond the windows. "We stand," he said firmly. His voice carried across the comm channels, reaching every soldier in the fleet. "We stand because we must. We stand because surrender means silence forever." The soldiers answered with renewed fire. Weapons lit the void, cutting into the storm. For a moment the being faltered again, its light dimming as if its strength was shaken. It did not fall, but it trembled. That tremble filled the fleet with hope stronger than any shield. Kale leaned close to Rin. It is reacting to you. Your scars are its weakness. Somehow it marked you, but that mark works against it now. Rin nodded. He felt the truth in his bones. The marks were not meant to destroy, but they carried defiance that the being could not erase. Every burn and every line told a story of survival. Against that story, even gods lost their voice. The battle reached its peak. The coalition fleet, though broken, pressed forward as one. Their unity struck harder than their weapons. The being's light flickered, its form twisting as though it no longer understood the strength before it. Then, through the roar of energy, a whisper filled the command deck. You should not exist. Yet you endure. The voice was vast and heavy, yet it carried hesitation. For the first time, the being spoke not as a master but as one uncertain. Ren stepped forward, his scars blazing. We exist because we choose to. We endure because we will not kneel. The whisper faded. The storm of light collapsed inward, folding into silence. The vast form withdrew into the shadows between stars, leaving only ruins and silence behind. The fleet floated in disbelief. They had not destroyed the being, but they had forced it to retreat. Against all reason, they had survived. Cheers broke through the calm channels. Soldiers shouted in triumph, not because the war was over, but because they had proven the impossible was not beyond reach. The coalition had faced what they once called divine, and they had not been broken. On the command deck, Kale turned to Rin. You showed them gods can bleed, Commander. You showed them gods can fear. Rin's scars dimmed slowly, leaving only faint marks on his skin. He felt weaker now, as though the fire inside had finally quieted. Yet his spirit held strong. He looked across the fleet, at the survivors who had stood with him. It was not me alone, he said. It was all of us. The being trembled because we fought as one. When the fleet returned to the station, they were met with silence first, then celebration. The coalition, once divided by fear, now looked upon the human soldier with respect. They no longer saw a curse. They saw a reminder that will could stand against power. Elder Vara spoke before the council and the gathered crowds. This human carried scars that spoke of survival. He faced what we thought untouchable and showed us the truth. Gods may rule stars, but mortals can endure even their storms. Let his story be remembered. And so it was. Across the coalition, tales spread of the scarred soldier who stood unbroken before a god. Some called him a hero, others a symbol, but to Rin Hale he was only a soldier who refused to bow. His scars remained as quiet proof of the battle, but his true legacy was the courage he had shared with others. In the silence of his chamber, Rin looked out at the stars. He knew the being had not been destroyed. It would rise again, somewhere, someday. But he also knew that when it came, it would no longer find a galaxy ready to kneel. It would find a galaxy ready to stand.